G'day, welcome back to part 3 of restoring this vintage old butcher steel. So today we'll move a bit further along, get all these scratches out, have a look at this handle. Alrighty, so let's get into it. Okay, so we previously ground all the pittings that we could see out of the steel on the grinder. I've just stuck the old handle back on it now, just to give me something to hold on to for this next part. So what we want to do, we're going to use this Rhino wet paper. Get this from Gamaco. I'll put a link down the description, but this stuff here, it's well known in the knife making community as one of the best papers for speed cutting. So it's really good paper. I recommend if you can get hold of some of that, use that. And what I've done here, I've cut the paper up various grits. We probably won't need all these, but that's just my little kit. Makes it easier, and you don't tend to waste the paper by cutting it up. So we'll start with some the 180 grit. We'll put some this just that Lanox oil, WD-40 or anything as a lubricant on it, and then we're just gonna we'll just be working that to expose some of the deeper scratches. So we'll give it a good go with the white 80 grit, then we'll have a look at it, and then probably take the deeper scratches out with the diamond stone, like I've shown in some of the previous videos. So just put some sort of oil on there just to keep the paper from clogging up, and then heaps of pressure from the tip to ends and making sure we're keeping it all straight. And you feel the paper when it's getting blunt, feel it stop cutting, move it to a fresh bit or move it around, so you're using the whole lot of it up, but don't persist with it once it goes blunt. It's not worth your time. So first glance after hitting with that coarse paper, looks all, you think, oh great, they're all come out, but as soon as you start looking at under a bit of magnification or go out into the sunlight, you'll start to see all the little nicks from that coarse paper, and that's what we've really got to get out. And it's dead important we get 100% of them out of it, so we need to take our time, find them and get them out there. So I'm going to keep going with that 180 grit for a bit, and then we're going to get under the light and with the texture, and we'll start marking the deep little nicks, and we'll get them out with the diamond stone. You will start to get a bit of heat build up in here from friction. It's never going to get hot enough to damage the steel, but it will give you blisters. So if it's starting to heat up, just go and dunk it back in your water to cool the steel down. Otherwise, as I say, from experience, you get quite good blisters on your thumb and your finger. So to get at this end of the steel, I usually pull the handle off and get it up against something and really clean this end up as well. It's a bit hard to get at when the ferrule nut's on there. Okay, so I've had a look under the light. It looks pretty good with that 180 grit, but I'm sure there's plenty of little marks under that coarse grit scratches that we can't see yet. So I'm going to now hit it with 320 grit, give that a good go, and then have another look under the light. And usually you'll start to see the little nicks catching the light when you move it back and forth under the micro magnifying glass there. So we'll get in and do that. Okay, looking at that under the light, I'll give it a good hit with 320 grit. It's looking actually pretty good, so I'm going to carry on and hit it with 400 grit and have another look at it. And we may be able to skip the step of rubbing it with a diamond stone. So it means we've done a pretty good job on the grinder, going through them finer grits and smoothing it out and getting them deep scratches out. So we'll see how we go. Okay, so it's sort of surprised me how easy this has been to rub back. I've been used to working on these tool steels, which are much more abrasive resistant, and you can tell on the paper it goes blunt really quick. Takes a long time to get all these scratches and marks out, and you always have to go over with the diamond stone to clean them up. Whereas so far I've done this with 400 and it's looking really good. So we're achieving two things. Them lines are still too coarse, or for me anyway. I think it's too aggressive. We need to take that up to a lot finer grit. I know some people do like to finish them about 320, but I've never had a great deal of luck with them being that coarse. They're okay for a secondary steel to pick your edge up every now and then as your rough one, but I don't personally have much luck with them being so coarse. Now, we don't really know how hard this steel is. All we know is that this file won't cut into it. But with the same file, if we put it on this Victorinox knife, it will cut in. So it's cutting a groove into that knife. So we know the file is harder than the knife, but the steel is harder than the file. So I would guess that it's going to be somewhere. These old steels are usually somewhere around the 58, 59 Rockwell hardness. But we do know that it's harder than the knife, and that's the main thing. My next batch of steels I make, I take them to a mate that's got a hardness tester, and I'll take this along and we'll actually see what it actually does read, and I'll post that up on my Instagram and Facebook page for those that are interested. But it seems to be coming up good, and it's been pretty quick to do, which is a bit surprising, but it's been a long while since I've bothered doing up these old steels. So with these modern that Rhino wet paper, it's definitely sped it up to last time when I was doing them. I was just using store-bought whatever wet and dry paper I could get at the time. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to get that to, I'm going to use a couple of pieces of 600 grit, and then I'm probably going to stop at that, and then we're going to work on the handle, because chances are while we're doing that we might put a little mark or something in here, so we don't want to have that completely finished, but we will wrap that up in a bit of rag to protect it while we're working on here. But I usually sort of stop about 600, do the handle, and then come in and finish it off once it's all together. Okay, so we'll have a look at this handle job that we're going to do. So we've got a few options here with this one. As we can see, the original handle's buggered and it's wood, so we want to be able to use this in the meatworks. And looking at the old hanger, what's happened here, because this was a steel hanger and it's gone rusty, as it's been hanging, the rust has acted like a file, and it's filed its way nearly out the top, and then they've re-drilled it, put a new hole in, and again, that because this is swinging back and forth, and over time it's flogged that hole there out. So you need to be mindful of that. If you've got a hanger that's rusty on brass, it'll just, and it's hanging there, as it's moving around, it's just going to file that soft brass out, and this is the result. So we're not going to reuse that one. You could, still okay, but I think we'll make a new one. This front ferrule, yeah, it's a bit rough. We may be able to clean it up. We'll have a look at it, see how it looks. If not, we'll just make another one. So you got options. You can make just out of industrial plastic or nylon. It's already got the built-in guard in it. You can just get one of these eye bolts, screws on the end of your threaded rod. They work great, feel good. Just if you just want a serviceable handle, does the job, that'll get it done. Or you can, here's some that I'm in the middle of making, go all out, make stainless steel hangers and ferrules, dress it right up if you like, but because I think we'll stick with brass on this one, and we'll make some sort of handle, I guess, something similar to that barrel shape. We'll see how we go, and obviously we'll make a new hanger for it. Or the other option you got, you can pull the handle off another old steel and see if you can get that to fit on it. I've even seen people put screwdriver handles on them. Don't look terribly great, but I guess it will get the job done. And there is other custom handle makers that do them swirl handles. A lot of you would have seen in the abs. They do look good, so you can contact one of them guys that are making them, get them to make you a handle. Only thing with them, just be careful, they will break if you drop them a few times. I've noticed where this nylon, it won't break, it's unbreakable. Well, to an extent, I guess. That's the beauty of this stuff. But yeah, if you want to go fancy with one of them swirl type handles, get hold of one of them guys. Righto, so this thread on the end, I thought it was a UNC. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a quarter. I couldn't get the fit, so I just ground it down and ran a die over the end of it to change it to metric, just 6mm. That was the easiest way. to get out of that. Otherwise I would have to cut it off and weld something on it. So we've got the new hanger started. Just got to weld that ring up, something a bit different, I guess. And the ferrule, I think it'll be okay. I've put it in the drill, just put a bloody bolt through it, with a nut on it, and spun it in the drill on the belt linisher, and then on the buffer. I think that'll be fine. I think that'll put a little bit of knurling on this fella to sort of match it up a little bit. So I think that'll come up all right. So I was just looking at handle shapes, what we're going to do, whether that's a English sort of like a pipe steel type shape. That's what I was just looking whether we could make something like that work with the hanger. So I might just have a bit of a play around with something like that. Maybe that shape, I like that. It feels good in your hand. I'll see how it looks. With these rings, when you do make a hanger or you put another one, we've seen how that other ring sort of chewed the brass out because it got rust on it. So make sure you make them out of stainless steel or brass if you've got the gear to solder that joint up. I don't, but I've got a TIG welder, so I'll weld that up, but make sure then it's all polished out. You don't want to leave any, you can see a few rough spots that we'll have to polish out because they'll act like a file over time and wear your hole out. So if we get that all polished up and smooth all the way around, that's going to outlast most of us, I'd say, and it shouldn't wear out, shouldn't wear through it. So righto, so we've got the handle turned up. I think that come up quite good. The hanger, we've got the ring has now been welded. There's still a little tiny bit of a seam there that we'll should be able to polish out. Bit of emery paper. But what we're aiming for is to get that to run without catching. And ideally, if we can muck around and sort of make that weld invisible. So that hanger matched up pretty good with that shape handle, I think, and the original ferrule, but we can see there's a bit of doesn't quite fit in there where it's was sort of dented. I think we should be able to fill that with a bit of epoxy when we finish it up. So if we have so if you can pull that off, just so you can see how I fitted that up. I'll put a bit of a recess up in here that then fits down inside the part of the handle, and the same down here, and that just helps center it all up. So what we've got to do now, we want to keep the water and moisture out of this handle to stop it rusting inside. So got to pull it apart, degrease it all, and I use this JB weld when I'm assembling it, just to help seal it all up. The moisture will want to get up in here, it'll want to get in these joints and in through the top. So we want to prevent that moisture getting in there over time and rotting the handle out from the inside. So we want this to last now, so we want to do it properly when we assemble it. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll finish off the shaft and we'll be ready to give it a try. Okay, so before we assemble this, I'm going to give all these parts a good clean and degrease, so we get that glue to help seal it up. Usually I'll use just some acetone, but I've left the lid off that and it's evaporated, so I'll just use some metho. So we want to get, also you'll notice I've give that a bit of a polish, got rid of all that active rust on here, so we don't want it still actively rusting away inside there. So obviously want to give the threads a good clean out. We don't want them coming undone. And all these parts where the ferrule up the front here is we want that to try and seal that up. And get into the threads with a earbud. Sure, them threads are clean. That's one of the important things. We don't want over time this to come loose. It's a pain in the ass. As I said, what we're looking for, we want this now to last the next 100 years. All these contact surfaces. Up in here where it's going to contact the steel, want them clean. Crud and shit that's built up in here over the years, you can imagine. And also on your handle, these contact points where we want it to seal up. So I do all my steels, I seal them up. I've seen a lot of steels, they've broken the handle or something, you pull them apart and the moisture's been getting into them, they're all bloody rusty and shitty and gunk, all hidden up in there. So if we seal them off with the JB weld, it's going to stop all that getting in there. But if you do need to get it apart, a bit of heat on these ends here, it will let go. But it's pretty good stuff. It's pretty strong. Okay, so you mix that stuff, JB weld, equal parts. So we want to get it all in here where it's going to contact the steel to seal it up. Just got to be careful you don't put too much in the threads, or if you haven't got room in there, it'll be sort of a hydraulic effect. You won't be able to screw it up if you've got too much in there. Hopefully, will be good. Okay, so I've wrapped the shaft in some rag here, and I've got these aluminium soft jaws with a bit of a groove in it here. This is why we didn't completely finish the steel, because chances are it might get a few little scratches. So what I'm doing there, I want to line that ring up with the maker's mark. Okay, so that's pretty good. So we'll get our metho again now, clean all this glue off. Alright, so we can see a bit of that glue seam right up in there, but I think once that dries, should be okay. Righto, so we're going to pull it up there. I've got a fair bit to go over in this, and it's starting to get long again, so instead of cutting important stuff out, I think we'll just do it into a fourth part of the series and finish it off and see how we go. So hopefully you're enjoying this, you're getting a bit out of it. It's been a bit of fun, and as you can see, there's a bit of work involved doing one of these steels up. So next time you ask your friendly steel restorer to do a steel up and he quotes you a price, you'll get an idea why it is what it is, and they're not going to do it for nothing. Okay, righto, see you next time.